Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys 1/6 scale Star Wars The Mandalorian figure unboxing and review. Today, we're taking a look at the Season 3 armoured version of Moff Gideon. Now, I got mine at a discount from Pop Collectibles. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. I've popped a link to their site in the description, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you decide to buy from them. While you're down in the description, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, so you're notified as soon as brand new Mandalorian content goes live on the channel. I cannot tell you how excited I've been to receive this piece. I know Season 3 isn't perfect, it has its flaws, but this look for him is my favourite of the entire series. As for the box art, up front an image of the actual figure inside the box, a metallic foil Star Wars logo directly below that, and a glossy wraparound banner featuring Mandalore, an image of Moff Gideon wearing his helmet, and they've used yellow as the accent colour for the logos and the text. On the side of the box, on the banner, another image of Gideon, this time showcasing the fact that his head sculpt has moving eyes. The number one question on my mind, considering this is the first time I think we've ever received a Giancarlo sculpt with moving eyes, be it Gus Fring, Moff Gideon or otherwise, if we can use this head sculpt with the first Moff Gideon figure, we'll just have to wait and see. Around the back, warnings, legal information, and Hot Toy store locations. This is some killer artwork. In the middle, we've got Gideon using his flamethrower. In the background, an image of his head sculpt, and 3 Praetorian guards up front. Technically, the correct number to own is 3, but I just don't have space for 3 of those things in the collection. I am considering picking up a second. First in-hand impressions for the Moff. So far, so good. There's a decent weight to him. I'm loving the thin and light cape material, and that head sculpt is already impressing me. What we're going to do now is get all of his accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Starting off with the display base first, it's their generic Star Wars base mold. This is so generic, in fact, it could literally be anywhere in the Star Wars universe. But for Moff Gideon, let's just say this is his Imperial outpost on Mandalore. There's some silver chipping on the edges of the panels up top. Round the front, Star Wars Moff Gideon etched onto the surface. Then for the crotch grabber, it is adjustable, and it's a wider scoop one to accommodate his bulky armor. We'll discuss his Darktrooper armor helmet in more detail when we install it on the body. For right now, some standout features. Number 1, the metallic red visor. Number 2, this greebly stuff below it. And number 3, this detail on the underside of the helmet. I was not expecting to fall in love with a glossy black little jetpack today. I have. This thing is awesome. It's small, it's cute, it's compact like I said, but it packs a punch when it comes to detail. We've got the sculpted vents on either side for these inside pieces, the honeycomb grille on this matte black panel, an asymmetrical layout for the buttons, these teeny tiny little wings at the bottom, and some blue on the thrusters to make it look like the metal has been superheated. To top it all off, this attaches with a magnet, and they've included some brand new thruster effect pieces that slot into the top part of these louvers, and they sit in there very securely. Once they're plugged in, they're not going anywhere. Seeing as though we just looked at some thruster pieces, let's look at some more flame effects. This is cast in translucent plastic, then it's been hit with multiple layers of paint. We've got orange, then yellow, then purple, and blue at the very bottom. You're never going to see the blue though, because this piece actually slides into the gauntlet and it's completely hidden. This is reuse, I think, from Boba Fett, but I could be wrong. We've received so many flamethrower effects at this point. Hands down, smallest, but best accessory of the bunch. The crushed Darksaber is worth the price of admission. This thing is glorious. I am going to have him displayed with this, and it will come into play with the pros and cons segment a little bit later. This is reuse, we won't spend too long on it. It's the same pistol we got with the first Moff Gideon from Season 1. There's silver dry brushing on the back part of the main body. We also have a silver barrel with some almost rusty looking pitting on it, a little cable connecting the sight to the gun, but unfortunately no gloss on the scope for some reason. More reuse, this is a grappling line. The line part of it is made of die cast, so it won't bend. Wouldn't it have been cool if this was a wire? That way you could have bent it and made it look like it was zigzagging as it was coming out of his gauntlet. The hook at the end is made of plastic. It's painted well enough. It's nice and shiny. It is not removable from this line. Do not try and take it off. The collapsed version of his electro pike, to me, reads as though it's a double-bladed lightsaber hilt from back in the day, like Knights of the Old Republic era. It's big for that, but still, that's the vibe I'm getting. It's glossy black in the middle, we've got the red button for the activation switch, then some silver top and bottom. The extended version of it is massive. I'm not sure if I'm going to give him this yet, we'll just have to wait and see. The red button is still present. Now it's mostly gunmetal and silver paint apps on these extended pieces. We've got a small translucent purple plastic lightning effect for the bottom, and a much larger one up top. If you're wondering how to install this one, you have to slide it on from the bottom all the way up to the top there, and then it'll lock in place. Oh, they got so close. We almost have a full set of hands with every single one of them having a matching pair. They're missing one set, and I'm okay with that. I'll give them a pass. If you don't, I understand. We get these gripping / electro pike holding hands. There's so much detail on the gloves with the wrinkling and the stitching and whatnot, and some glossy black paint apps for the armor plates on the back of them. This is the non-matching pair. We've got an open palm hand with the fingers splayed out, and a trigger finger hand for his blaster pistol. Back to pairs, 2 closed fists, then installed on him right out of the box, 2 relaxed open palm hands. They look so real. The wrinkling on them is the best that I think I've ever seen from Hot Toys. What we're going to do now is get Moff Gideon himself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. Let me introduce you to the new best Hot Toys Moff Gideon. And it's not even close. I still like the original, like it's serviceable, it's okay. But this smokes it at every level, whether it's proportions, realism, the head sculpt, especially the head sculpt, presence, the outfit, accessories. This guy brings so much more to the table. If you've only got space for one Gideon on your Mandalorian shelf, I think you're looking at it. Unless there's something so inherently classic about the Imperial outfit for the first one that appeals to you more than this armored look does, I don't think you're going to be disappointed upgrading to this Moff Gideon. Up close and personal, kicking things off with Moff Gideon's unhelmeted head sculpt. We'll try the helmet, but I almost don't want to, because this sculpt is perfect. Well, I think it's perfect. I mean, you might still not like it, but compared to the Season 1 Gideon sculpt, this is Moff Gideon. This is Gideon's stunt double. How did they get the first sculpt so wrong? This doesn't look anything like Giancarlo now that I'm seeing it next to the new one. I don't know how I was happy with that sculpt initially, but I was. This one destroys it. There's heaps of skin texture, the wrinkling looks great, he's got forehead lines, crow's feet, the works. There's even some wrinkling for the skin on his neck, and you can see the defined Adam's apple. It is a split cut sculptor neck situation, you can see the gap underneath his ears from the side, but from the 3/4 turn, because he's got such a defined jawline, you can't really see it, so I'm not mad that they didn't go with a single piece sculpt like this. The hair is even really detailed. And they've done away with the mold line on the side of the sculpt that was present with the original right over the top of the thing. The best part about the sculpt, hands down, moving eyes. You can adjust the eye position with this new Gideon sculpt, and that's not something you could do with the 1.0. I've zoomed in even closer now so you can see the pores for the skin, even some little eyelashes on his lower eyelids, and the red veins on his eyes, the eyebrows, some red shading for the ears. Oh, stop now, let's check out the moving eyes. So on the inside of the sculpt, we've got 2 ball joints, and you can move the eyes around in pretty much any direction. The range of motion for the ball joints is on point. I've got no complaints. You can get them looking all the way off to the side if you want to. And I do want to. You'll know me, I'm always partial to a little bit of side eye. That coupled with a head tilt, of course. Looking forward through his furrowed brow, head tilted, Moff Gideon looks either inquisitive or sassy, depending on how you angle the sculpt. That's the best part about moving eyes for me. It makes sculpts and their expressions so much more versatile. I prefer his eyes looking the other way. Something about this side of the sculpt, it's not his best angle, let's just say. So I'll move the eyes back to the other side when I put this guy in my display. Before we get there, we've got plenty of stuff left to look at, such as his helmet on the body. Whoa. This helmet is fierce. On this outfit, it completes the look. That head sculpt is glorious. This helmet is something else entirely. It's glossy black plastic, just like all of the other armor bits. We've got some matte sections, this vibrant red, and a super vibrant metallic punchy red for the visor. The horns up top are well defined, and we've got a little bit of his skin tone neck poking out from underneath it. So you can still see that this is Moff Gideon from the back or from the front if you angle his helmet up. If you're not a fan of that visible skin tone neck, you could always grab like some black spandex or something, wrap it around the neck, then pop the helmet on top of it. This is a surprisingly solid cape. It's made of this 2-ply lightweight fabric, and you can separate the 2 layers if you want to insert some extra wires inside of it. Not that I think you should have to, because it's already wired along the edges. If you want to remove it, it is attached with Velcro underneath this back armor plate. You could then trying to reinstall it underneath that armor plate, because there's very little clearance, is going to be quite difficult. Installing the jetpack, magnet inside the back armor, pop it on there, but because it's smooth on the back, it's also very fingerprinty, I apologize, and the cape is slick, it doesn't really hold in place. There's no friction to actually grab onto it, if you know what I mean. So dial in the pose first, then you can attach the jetpack, either with or without the blast effects, depending on what you're trying to go for. If you're curious, underneath the cape, we've just got this little armor plate. That's what the jetpack attaches to. That looks quite cool underneath the cape with the jetpack. So if you did remove it, he wouldn't have that awesome regal cape, but the jetpack does attach more securely. This, the material for the outfit, will touch on in just a second. Every time that helmet catches my eye, it is a showstopper. Seriously, it is. Let's discuss the material for the undersuit. This is not nylon. It would have been a perfect opportunity to switch this pleathery shit out for something more durable like nylon. And I'm not sure if it's pleather because it feels thicker, sturdier than usual, but chances are it is going to flake. We'll touch on this for damn sure in the pros and cons segment. Now, the armor plates are mostly free-floating and adjustable. You can move everything around. The shoulder pads are attached with Velcro, so you can take them off, then do the pose, pop them right back on. And the belt is made of a softer rubbery plastic. This, thank goodness, is not made of pleather. This is the holster, the little strap that's held in place with a magnet. This is all pleather. It could have been sculpted plastic because we just saw them do a leather-style holster in sculpted plastic with tech from the Bad Batch, for crying out loud. Let's try out his flame effect and the grappling hook. The grappling hook is the worst of the two, at least I found that to be the case. The instructions specifically tell you to do this on the left side, but you can ignore that. This also works on the right side perfectly fine. So you want to install the closed fist, angle it down, making sure there's enough of a gap between the gauntlet and the body for the grappling hook to slide into. Then it looks something like this. It's not a secure connection by any means, but it does work in a pinch if that's a pose you're after. As for the flame effect, now this is something that I would be tempted to use in the display if the outfit wasn't made of this fragile feeling material, because there's a lot of stress being put on the underside of his armpits. It's much more of a secure connection compared to the grappling hook. Still, that's pressing down on the hand and pulling the gauntlet away from the body. There's a lot of stress on everything once you install this flame effect. Everything is so shiny and covered in fingerprints. I apologize for that. I will fix it, but before I put him in the collection, if I wipe him down now, maybe using his cape, it'll just get fingerprinty again because I'm about to touch these armor pieces. Thigh plates can be moved, but I think they're meant to cover up these seams on the bodysuit, so just angle them accordingly. There is some stretchy spandex on his thighs. Why? The high traffic area is here underneath his crotch, not on his thigh. Nothing actually happens to the thigh fabric. So the stretchy spandex should have extended up a little bit further than it does, and the thigh armor would have mostly covered it. Coming down to the knee pads, these are attached with Velcro. They're quite loose on my copy, but if I push them down, they're not going anywhere unless I touch them. Then we've got the shin/boot guards. These can move as well, and underneath them, some sculpted plastic boots. For a Star Wars figure, usually they go with pleather. This is much better than that. This is going to stand the test of time. We've got wrinkling and stitching and leather grain texture, plus some tread on the underside. This is a killer look for Moff Gideon. I am curious though. Can I use the new head sculpt on the original body, and vice versa, the 1.0 sculpt on this body? Dude, what? That's perfect. This is what I want for Season 1 Moff Gideon. He doesn't have the moustache. It's not 100% accurate. I still want to display him like this. The likeness is so good on this head sculpt, and it looks incredible on this body, that I'm willing to forget about the moustache inaccuracy. The issue is, we don't get a second neck, so now we simply can't do this. Unless you find a way to fashion one of those clear neck connectors for yourself, on a 3D printer perhaps, then maybe it's going to be possible. As it stands, right out of the box, it just ain't going to happen. Oh, and the original Moff Gideon head sculpt does connect up to the neck connector on the Darktrooper armor body. I will never display him like this. I just can't get around this head sculpt now that I've seen the new one. The ball joint for the neck on original Moff Gideon is slightly bigger, so the new head sculpt isn't fully connected on the inside of this collar. But the collar is tight enough, it keeps the head sculpt in place without it flopping around everywhere. For a quick side-by-side comparison, I don't want to make it sound like I loathe the one on the right. I still like it. It was the first look Moff Gideon had in the series, and I still want to represent that in my collection in 1/6 scale. There's also no denying that the new one is vastly superior. The outfit looks more visually interesting. He's got more presence because of it. Proportions look extremely realistic. And the head sculpt. It's a night and day difference. Giancarlo on the left and someone else on the right. Even the skin tone was off on that 1.0. So Giancarlo in real life is 5'8". He's not the tallest guy in the room. So next to the Praetorian Guard, this scaling looks about right to me. And this shot right here has sold me. I have to pick up another Praetorian so I can have one on either side of the Moff in the display. And finally, the chrome version of Din Djarin, aka the Mandalorian. Pedro is 5'11", So there should be a noticeable height difference between these two, and there is. So once again, the scaling looks accurate. While I plan to have Moff displayed with 2 Praetorian guards, I'm also going to have Din in close proximity because I will be using the IG-12 accessories with him to make a Season 3 version of Mando. Going over articulation, starting off with the Moff's head sculpt. It's on a ball joint at the base of the neck and a double ball peg up underneath the head itself. Looking forward to there, looking up to there, more range than I was expecting, swivel and pivot side to side. His shoulder pads are attached with Velcro, so if they come off, don't worry about it. Just move the arms around, then pop them right back on. His arms will go up to there, but that puts a lot of pressure on his outfit. Going forward to there, there's a butterfly joint at the shoulder that hinges up and down. Swivel at the bicep, double bend at the elbow going past 90, then for the wrist peg, it's a ratcheted hinge and swivel. There's a lot of armor on the torso, and this matte finish will get scratched up very easily, so do be careful when you're crunching him forward. Going to about there, back to there, but it gets gappy, you can adjust the belt to accommodate for it. Swivel and pivot side to side. His legs will go forward to there, then you can rotate the thigh armor and they'll go slightly further. Going out to there, swivel at the upper thigh. Double bend at the knee on ratchets going past 90. And these are attached with Velcro, so once again, if they come off, no problem. He's got high-topped boots on, but they're not too high, and this is all sculpted plastic, so going forward and back on a double ball peg, swivel, as well as ankle tilt. Moving on to the 3 cool and 3 annoying things. The first annoying thing is this head sculpt is so good that I want to use it on the Season 1 Moff Gideon body. That might very well be possible because this neck is removable. But then when you do that, there's no neck left on the body to display him wearing the helmet. So you're going to need to find another neck. Simple enough. But no, they've also used that clear plastic clip mechanism, and finding another one of these is not easy. The second annoying thing is, what is this? Is it pleather? It looks like pleather. It might be. It's heavily textured, it's plasticky feeling, but it's fabric backed, so this is a surface coating on top of fabric, which means it could eventually peel over time. The third annoying thing is the way you attach the flamethrower is stupid. Like, the instructions literally just tell you to wedge it in this gap, and you're putting pressure on everything. You can get it done if you force it all the way onto that gauntlet, but then you're stressing out the connection for the wrist peg for the hand, and you're probably going to do damage to the glossy black paint applications on the gauntlet itself. The first cool thing is, it seems like they're on a roll recently with their head sculpts, because the first Moff Gideon was okay. This is Giancarlo to a T, and it's got moving eyes, which takes it to that next level. The second cool thing is so many new effect pieces. I might not be a big fan of these in the display, but for figure photography, these things are bloody awesome. The third cool thing might not seem like a big deal to some, but the crushed Darksaber, man, it was heartbreaking in the show when Moff Gideon did this, and now we've got it in 1/6 scale. Out of all of the accessories he comes with, I'm not sure what I'm going to have in his left hand, but in his right, it's going to be this crushed Darksaber. Wrapping up on Hot Toys, Mandalorian Season 3, Darktrooper Armor Moff Gideon. Whoa. I could leave it at that, and I think that would sum up all of my thoughts on this piece. That's how good it is. Is it perfect? It's darn close, man. I want to say it is. But the pleather, rubbery style stuff for the outfit underneath the armor should have been nylon. If the undersuit was nylon, this would be the definitive Moff Gideon for forever, maybe, for a while at least. I don't know. But they didn't go with nylon, they went with the vinyl stuff, and I think it might degrade over time. That's just not good enough. What is good enough is everything else. The armor, the sheen, the reflectiveness of it, the cape that tucks into the top that's removable, the jetpack, the head sculpt, the helmet. But let's dive in deeper on the sculpt. It is Giancarlo. that is the Moff. Like, we can agree to disagree on the head sculpt if you want, but I think it's a perfect head sculpt. It's a 10 out of 10 for me, and the moving eyes take it to 11 out of 10. This is one of the most impressive head sculpts I've ever seen from them. If they keep delivering sculpts at this level of this caliber, oh, we're in for a treat, because there is very little, if any, degradation from the prototype to what we got for final production. This is what I want to see more of. So at the end of the video, I love this figure. I didn't think I was going to, because my first Moff Gideon has a special spot in my collection right up front alongside the other Remnant Imperials. I'm replacing him now with this armored one. The OG can go somewhere else in the collection. If you're looking to grab Moff Gideon, I got mine at a discount from Pop Collectibles. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. I've popped a link to their site in the description, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you do decide to buy from them. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.